What is up, casuals, and welcome to the NerdyD Wrestling Show, where each and every week NerdyD breaks down everything you need to know about in professional wrestling in just 30 minutes so it's easy to digest. If you want to support the casual wrestling community creator fund and have a couple of bucks to toss our way, you can follow the link in the description of this video to help support the growth of the casual wrestling community channel. If not, no big deal. Strap in because we're about to talk pro wrestling. So first topic this week is one I think most of you have been waiting to hear me talk about. After months of telling you guys that it was going to happen, CM Punk is officially home in WWE. And despite the best efforts of the IWC and the best efforts of the dirt sheets to hedge their bets and cover all bases and tell you guys that he's not going to show up, he is going to show up. They played both sides of the fences. I continued to stand tall in saying that CM Punk was returning back to WWE. So your boy stayed true. Your boy never faltered on the fact that he thought CM Punk would find his way back home to WWE. Now, there's a couple things that we're going to need to talk about regarding CM Punk coming home to WWE. So let's not waste time. Let's jump right into those things. The first thing that I want to talk about, the first thing that I need to talk about this week is the absolute meltdown from the IWC and the AEW faithful. And I'm not just talking about the ones who said that CM Punk would never show up, but I'm talking about the ones that are reaching for every reason and every excuse why CM Punk showing back up in WWE is some kind of indictment against WWE and the roster that it had before CM Punk showed up. Now, it doesn't matter how bad the odds get stacked against AEW fans or the IWC. It amazes me. They will lick dog shit and turn and tell us that it tastes like Fruity Pebbles before they will admit the reality that they are facing right now, and that is AEW's dead. November 25th, 2023. We can call it. I can give you an official time of death. 11 p.m. Central. AEW no longer has a pulse inside of professional wrestling. And the death was sad. I mean, it was a sad day. It was the end of an era that some people thought was this upstart that was going to take over the greatest wrestling company of all time. This is so sad that Tony Khan refuses to talk about it because it was so sudden, because he doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to admit that he messed up the best opportunity he ever had to compete with WWE. AEW at this point is absolutely irrelevant. The IWC does not want to hear this, but this is the truth. AEW has been buried right next to the corpse of Impact Wrestling or TNA or whatever it is that you want to call that company right now, because both of those companies are just shells of what they used to be. And the IWC doesn't want to take the L on this one. The IWC is still scratching and clawing to make some kind of sense about what just happened on Saturday. But here's the problem. This is the biggest problem for the IWC. They all swore that CM Punk was not going to show up. And then he does. Then they all claim that CM Punk is irresponsible and he's too much of a cancer to actually fit into WWE. And what does Punk do? He comes out on Monday Night Raw and cuts one of the most mature and positive promos that makes zero mention of AEW. He absolutely took the high road. He spoke highly of the WWE, and he said nothing about AEW. He showed growth. And the IWC is acting like that CM Punk was supposed to come back and attack WWE and attack AEW, and he was supposed to come in and be this bitter. No, he came and he showed maturity. He showed growth. He played up on the Seth Rollins stuff, but that's what you have to do. This is pro wrestling. At some point, you got to start setting up your stories. But other than that, he looked like a man who had come back and found peace. He found a space that was comforting. He went to the other side. It's the old saying, the grass is greener on the other side. He went to the other side to see the grass, and that grass was fucking terrible. So now he's back in WWE, and I think he finds comfort in it. I think for all the IWC that were saying that was a disingenuous promo by CM Punk, I think you're wrong. I think CM Punk just got to witness what it's like on the other side, and he came home and he said, this is what it's supposed to be. But what does the IWC go do? Instead of just acknowledging the growth and maturity, they jump onto social media and they mock the promo that CM Punk cut. They wanted so bad. The IWC wanted so bad for CM Punk to come out and take a hot shit all over AEW and to come in and talk about all the things that are wrong with WWE that they don't like, so that the IWC could point the finger and say, I told you, he's a bitter old man. He's a cancer. And when it didn't happen, the only thing that they could do was, they got onto social media and they started pointing finger at WWE fans and goes, you guys waited 10 years to hear that? Yeah, that's exactly what we waited for. We waited patiently for 10 years for CM Punk to come home where he belongs. And like he said, this is his home. And now he can begin to tell stories in front of actual audiences. And that's not meant to just be a joke about sheer number of people. It's meant to explain that CM Punk can get back to telling stories to wrestling fans who don't expect to see other people drinking human blood in order to feel something about the match that's going on inside of the ring. Like, AEW fans aren't human at this point. I'm convinced they're just basement dwelling trolls. I recall so many content creators who hedged their bets on this topic. And I'm not going to call them out by name, but I took notice of all of these content creators who wanted to stay on the fence on this issue because it was safe. It was safe to go, yeah, he might come back, he might not. I, from the beginning, made my bets. I put my horse on that track of CM Punk and said he's coming back. And I also remember all the content creators who made statements like, well, WWE doesn't need CM Punk. What? Like, when these people say this out loud, it's got to be for reaction, right? Because you can't believe that. Because now we're Tuesday here. Doesn't that statement feel just a little bit foolish today? Like, literally, last night's Monday Night Raw was the most anticipated I have ever been for a Monday Night Raw. This is in my entire life of watching wrestling. That was the most excited. I thought about it all day. I was so ready to sit down in front of my TV and watch Monday Night Raw. Randy Orton was a big part of that, but it was mostly for CM Punk. That 3-hour show that I usually take 2 naps for flew by. The whole night I was on the edge of my seat. Raw was good, man. It was real good. And a lot of that was the anticipation of CM Punk. But there was also other stuff. Triple H is cooking right now. The tag team match, the tag team turmoil match at the beginning of the night was phenomenal. I mean, that was absolutely great. The Creeds, to see all of the talent that is in the tag team division on Monday Night Raw right now is scary. It is scary that at one time there were comments being made that AEW had the better tag team division. Not no more. That's not a thing anymore. That tag match was absolutely incredible. Randy Orton is Randy Orton, man. I thought he looked better physically, but also spiritually. He looked excited to be in the ring. He looked maybe the most motivated I've seen him in the last 10 years. There's just an energy in WWE right now. There is an aura. If you've ever played sports, then you understand that momentum is a real thing. And the momentum of professional wrestling has absolutely all shifted to WWE's corner at this point. Orton's back. CM Punk is back. Seth Rollins is finally in a position to actually do Seth Rollins level wrestling. You got Cody and Shinsuke Nakamura are about to do some deep level storytelling. Jey Uso looks like he might be the closest thing on the roster to a fan favorite that's not named LA Knight. And of all of this going on, with all of this stuff going on, our number one, our GOAT, our main event, our big attraction, our head of the table is not even on TV right now. And we are murdering the wrestling game. And then you got to talk about the fact that even things like the Judgment Day, which were starting to get stale, they've had some new life pumped into them because of Survivor Series and War Games and storylines that were injected into their situation, right? And then you got to talk about, just on the side of that, it looks like we're going to get Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn, which was completely unexpected as far as I'm concerned. Like, WWE is cooking right now. Triple H is cooking right now. The women's division on both shows, fire. The tag team division on both shows, fire. Firing on all cylinders. Triple H, I told y'all, I called this way back. And I've seen other people, they play defense, but I called it way back. I even produced some t-shirts. Triple H is the booking god. He just needed to get in the kitchen and start cooking. And now he's cooking. And now we're starting to see the fruits of what he's producing. And this is typically the time when wrestling gets slow and bad. And I think for the first time in a long time, this may be the most excited that I've been. It is time for the IWC to recognize that all of those little bullshit awards that you've been giving to Tony Khan, where y'all hand him little plastic trophies and you tell him he's the Booker of the Booker of the Year, you can't do that no more. We're not going to let you do that no more. You want to start lining those trophies up in Connecticut for Triple H because he is the Booker of the Year, you know? But let's talk about, I've seen some of the IWC with the audacity to still, at this point in time, be in denial and try to dog on Survivor Series. It absolutely makes no sense to me. There are some haters in the world who just refuse to see perfection. And I've never been the guy who wants to give things a perfect score, but Survivor Series was 10 out of 10. 5 stars. Perfection. When you look at a premium live event, you have to understand the way things should flow. And the last couple premium live events have been just glorified big premium house shows. But Survivor Series, obviously Triple H is taking these big four seriously. This thing was presented flawlessly, right? Every show is going to have a certain amount of peaks and a certain amount of valleys. And the trick is that you want those real high peaks to overshadow the valleys so that you really don't remember them and they don't stick in your head. And that's what Survivor Series did. Was every match a classic? No. I mean, absolutely not. But Triple H did exactly what he needed to do, and he covered those valleys with extremely high peaks. And then at the end of the show, he just started dropping nuclear bombs. At the end of Survivor Series, he just started dropping nuclear bombs to make you forget literally everything that happened in the first 2 hours and 45 minutes of that show. But let's talk about the beginning of that show. Opening War Match games with the women, 10 out of 10. Everybody showed out. Everybody showed out. It was beautiful chaos. That's the only way I can explain it. It felt like a train started going 100 miles an hour and it never stopped. That match was insane from start to finish. The crazy spots. Io Sky going off the top ropes in a trash can. Charlotte going off the top rope and doing the backflip. My biggest fear going into that match was going to be, how could Shotzi perform at the same level as everybody else? And guess what, haters? Shotzi showed up. She wasn't the best in the match, but she definitely was not. She didn't stick out like a sore thumb. She held her own. Shout out to Shotzi for going in there and putting on a performance, right? She took her bumps. She jumped off a chair, which is not easy. You go try to run full speed and jump off a folding chair and tell me if that shit is easy, because it's not easy. Most of y'all are going to bust your ass. But to start a premium live event with this level of energy is insane. I don't love it because typically that's what puts the crowd to sleep in match number 2. But Triple H was prepared for that because he rolled us right into the second match being The Miz versus Gunther, which was so smart. It was so smart because there's zero chance that Gunther and The Miz are going to shit the bed. Now, you have a few outliers who I saw on social media saying they thought Miz had a shot. But for the most part, we as fans knew that this was Gunther's match. But The Miz did do a hell of a job. There were a couple times where I got on the edge of my seat and thought, all right, Miz might do this. But ultimately, I think we knew we weren't in for a big surprise. And these two guys are going to put on a high-level match that keeps the crowd entertained. So that match was a perfect follow-up to that high level of energy. Then you go into kind of, I don't want to call it technical masterpiece, but you have two guys who really understand the psychology of professional wrestling. And then from there, we rolled into Santos and Dragon Lee. And I was curious how this match was going to play out. I was curious how Triple H was going to handle this, because the typical WWE booking has been to never stop somebody with momentum. And this was two guys coming into a match that absolutely had momentum. So I sat 100% expecting that we were going to get a no finish in this match. And instead, Triple H did the right thing, in my opinion, and he let someone go over somebody else who had momentum. Look, Santos is the guy. He could be a huge player on SmackDown. I see big things for Santos Escobar. If y'all look back at the things that Alberto Del Rio did as a heel, they were solid work. I think Santos has a better personality. I think he speaks better. I think he has a better presentation. I think Santos Escobar has the ability to be a top-level heel on Friday Night SmackDown. I mean, I can tell you, for the first time, I'm actually interested in what the LWO is doing when it comes to Friday Night SmackDown. So that's exciting. I think that match handled perfectly. Then you did Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark. Kind of the same concept here. It was a solid match. We all know where this was going. I was confident that at this point, if Rhea and Gunther retained, there was a big surprise in play. Zoe Stark got to hit a couple big spots that make her look credible in the division, but ultimately we know, you got to know right now we're heading into WrestleMania season, and Rhea Ripley is probably, outside of maybe some of these new names that are bouncing around, but just as far as people who've been here, she's probably your most over all-around superstar that you have on the roster. So that led us to the men's match, which was just another perfect vision of storytelling. This was just Triple H again. After he gave you an appetizer, he gave you a soup, he gave you a salad. It was time for the entree of the night. And this was just done so well. They played up Randy Orton all night. This idea that Randy Orton might not show up, which is, I said during the broadcast, I said, this is so dangerous, because you're going to have people who are expecting CM Punk. Little did I know, you've got CM Punk in the back ready to go. So now it's not a dangerous game. Now you can play this game with confidence, because not only do you want that reaction, but you're teasing for that reaction. The delayed entrance from Randy Orton had me on the edge of my seat, because I was like, here we go. This could be a CM Punk moment. Ended up being Randy Orton. Was not disappointed at all. That was the first thing. I thought I might be disappointed, but seeing Randy come out, seeing that Randy looks physically more imposing than he's ever looked, it immediately took off like, all right, if CM Punk doesn't show up, I'm completely fine with what I've seen tonight. But then we got Randy Orton hitting an RKO off the top of the cage, which, we're coming in going, Randy's going to come in, he'll clean up a little bit. He's not going to do that much. No, it looks like Randy is back. He's back. He's fully back. I don't think Randy has any limitations. And so that was, a great finish to the match. It absolutely, even taking a loss, it helped Judgment Day, because they go from something that is stale to now they have some stories to work with. The implosion of Damian Priest and the kind of infighting that is starting to take place. That match, the War Games match, kind of set the seeds for that. You got Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton giving Cody the finish, which once again kind of puts Cody on this pedestal, because like it or not, we are headed towards the era of Cody Rhodes in 2024. That is what WWE is going to be. Like it or hate it, I believe Cody Rhodes is going over Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I think you have to. I think it's the only thing that makes sense. So you put Cody back in the limelight. And you also added some just different dynamics for people like Jey Uso. There is this will it, won't it happen between Jey Uso and Randy Orton. And you also threw in some dynamics for Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre. So that was your entree. You got a soup, you got a salad, you got an appetizer, you got a beautiful entree. And then Triple H goes, I'm not done. I'm not going to feed you guys dinner without giving you dessert. And what does he do? Boom. Cult of personality to end the show. Chills going down the spine, icing on the cake, this was a beautifully presented dessert that it just took everything that felt good about the night and it just wrapped it up and it put a nice little bow on it. And it just, to me, possibly, that was my favorite premium live event I've ever watched in my life. I've seen people go 9 out of 10. I've seen people go 8 out of 10. That was a 10 out of 10. As far as a casual fan, as far as the Notorious NerdyD goes, that is as 10 of 10 a premium live event as I will ever see in my life. And it's because things are personal to me. I love Randy Orton. I absolutely love CM Punk. I like Santos Escobar. I think everything that I needed to happen to feel fulfilled happened. Do have to address one thing. I said, I love CM Punk. I love Randy Orton. I'm going to have to address something because I saw all of these content creators that stream these events. You know, they watch along live, which is something I tend to do in the near future, but trust me, I'm not going to this level. I can't commit to the bit like they do. But I saw some of these people end up in tears when CM Punk came out. And I just want to go on record. I'm going to go on notice. I need you guys, hold me to this. CWC, cancel me if I ever cry over professional wrestling. If professional wrestling ever makes me cry, cancel me immediately. Like, if wrestling ever makes me cry, I need someone to fly to San Antonio, walk into this studio, and just slap the shit out of me. Because I absolutely enjoy professional wrestling. I love professional wrestling. It's not bringing me to tears. Was I excited? Sure. Did I feel the need to cry? No, I didn't. Let's do a little housekeeping. We got some new merch in the Casual Wrestling store, a bunch of new hoodies with all of the different new show logos. There is a CM Punk Casual Wrestling hoodie in there that is dope. I've got mine on order. Mine should be here in the next couple days. I'll start rocking them on the show so you guys can see what they look like in actuality. The PLE preview show with Milwaukee Mike has blown the fuck up. That video is doing so well. That makes me so exciting. Milwaukee Mike coming to the casual wrestling community and representing on that show. I'm looking to do a couple other collaborations. I have some ideas. I'm going to be reaching out to different people in the near future. So we'll see what's going on. But I like that, man. Let's get this thing. Let's make this thing a community and let's keep it rolling. Let's dig into the mailbag now. And let's see what questions we have this week. Remember, you can submit your questions to questions@casualwrestlingcommunity.com, just like Jackson did when he asked, "Hey, Nerdy D." Jackson Morales here, tuning in from San Antonio as well. Shout out to San Antonio. I've got to ask, what is your take on Randy Orton's epic return? The arena was electric. How do you think this will shake up the wrestling world? I think right now, when you look at the Raw roster, and this is going to be a little long-winded answer here, but we'll get back to Randy Orton. But when you look at the Raw roster right now, you legitimately have 5 to 7 guys who are ready to be world champion right now. And that list includes Randy Orton. You have Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, CM Punk, Gunther, and there's probably more. I'm not going to list Cody Rhodes because I think he's destined for SmackDown, but there's 5 to 7 guys right now. WWE has not had this in a long time where you have 5 to 7 guys who are all on even playing field. It's starting to feel a little bit like the Attitude Era to me, where you have interchangeable pieces for that main event picture. We're not talking about just having a John Cena. We're not just talking about having one guy who can main event the show. And when it comes to Randy Orton, I mean, look, I said it earlier. He looks phenomenal. He looks to be in possibly the best physical shape of his life. So do I think that Randy Orton just came back to pick up a paycheck? Absolutely not. I realistically can see situations where Randy Orton is holding a world title in 2024. I kind of mentioned this in the Discord, but I think there is I don't want to say lack of appreciation because that makes it sound like it's malicious, but I think there's just an underappreciation for the level that Randy Orton at 43 years old has, the love he has for professional wrestling. He has no plans to leave for Hollywood. He has no plans to quit wrestling. You could tell when he came out on Monday Night Raw that he genuinely had missed professional wrestling. He obviously took time off for a serious injury, but he came back possibly better than he left us. And it looks like he came back with a new mentality. It looks like he's ready to go and he's enjoying what he's doing. There's a level of humility you have to be able to have. And this is one of the arguments the IWC made that actually made a little bit of sense. But now, now we can look at this as a positive as far as Randy Orton goes. But there's a humility you have to know that you're returning at Survivor Series. And I don't want to say it's overshadowed, but it's definitely some of that limelight has to be shared with the fact that CM Punk is returning the same night. And I think Randy Orton viewed it as, well, we can make wrestling history. And that's absolutely what they did. They made wrestling history. That Survivor Series night is going to live in infamy. It will be talked about for years to come. I know I keep saying this, but I'm genuinely the most excited that I have been about pro wrestling since maybe 2011. I'm invested. Like, the cold winter that we were expecting, it doesn't exist this year. Most of the years I anticipate how quickly can we get from Survivor Series to the Royal Rumble and just get through the bullshit of December. And this year I'm like, slow down. I want to soak up all of the 6 to 8 Monday Night Raws that we're going to get. I want to embrace them. I'm going to sit down and relish these moments. We are living in the good old days right now. We will look back at some point when all of the dust settles, and wrestling is cyclical. At a certain point, it will slow down again. We will look back and go, holy shit, at one point in time, we had Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Randy Orton, Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, LA Knight. There was so much going on. This is the good old days right now. Second question. Hi there, Nerdy D. This is Emma from Orlando. I'm super curious about your thoughts on Cody Rhodes declaring for the Royal Rumble. Do you think he needs another win under his belt to amp up the excitement for Cody versus Roman rematch? I don't. I actually don't. I think that Cody winning the Royal Rumble would be a waste this year. There are 1,000 ways that you can get Cody Rhodes to the promised land in a main event with Roman Reigns that doesn't need to go through the Royal Rumble. Can he be part of it? Sure. Can you set the story up in the Rumble? Sure. I just don't think that he needs to win that in order to get to that main event. My preferred winners this year or next year are CM Punk, which now I'm 100% on board with that idea. But I still like Sheamus going over in the Royal Rumble. I like Sheamus for the fact that it would be interesting to see somebody actually choose the Intercontinental title as the championship they wanted to go after, and to see Sheamus take on Gunther for the chance to become the Grand Slam champion and dethrone Gunther at WrestleMania. CM Punk, there's other ways to set him up in a title shot with Seth Rollins. I think the crowd would love it. I absolutely think the fans would love if CM Punk, it's kind of that, he left us at the Royal Rumble. It would kind of be fitting if he came back and he won the Royal Rumble. I ultimately believe there will be a lot of eye rolling from fans if it's Cody Rhodes that wins the Rumble 2 years in a row when he absolutely doesn't need it. We all know what to expect. We all are under the belief system that we're headed straight towards Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes Part 2. So I don't think that we need to do that with the most obvious path. I think there are more creative paths to get to that match, and I imagine Triple H knows that. So allow me to take a quick second to let you guys know what to look forward to this week on the Casual Wrestling Community Network. This week, the Casual Wrestling Community Show will introduce you to a few new faces that you will get to know and love. I will ask them a few questions, and they'll ask me a few questions, and you'll just get familiar with seeing some different faces on that show every week. The Champ and the Chick will feature a Logan Paul Prime Sports Drink blind taste test to see if Level Up Lauren can identify what the Prime flavors actually taste like. And this Friday, you can join me live on YouTube for a casual SmackDown watch along. The Blue Brand's got a lot of catching up to do, so I'll be interested. I'll be waving the blue flag, hoping that they can figure out how to make up. Raw's got a lot of talent. But I stay true, and I'm not going to bandwagon over to Monday Night Raw. I'm still going to plant my flag on SmackDown. All right, so let's close out the show here with a few rapid-fire thoughts that I had. Saw an article that said MJF may be seriously injured. What bad timing there. I don't know if that's storyline. I didn't read much into it, but if this turns out to be true and MJF is injured right now and Tony Khan has to make a decision to take that title off of MJF with seeing a lot of rumors that MJF has re-signed with AEW through like 2027. There was a time in the last 2 years where I thought WWE absolutely should make a run at MJF. I don't think that's necessary anymore. I think that WWE is so crowded with top talent that they don't need MJF. There's not necessarily that spot that makes sense for him. If I'm MJF, I look at AEW, I look at the niche product that they present. I see the ability to be the top guy at least for another couple of years while some of these older names kind of phase out of WWE. And then maybe I look to make the jump. He's still so young. I look to make that jump in 2027. But if MJF is hurt right now, I already said AEW is dead, but you could just bury them anywhere you want. If they lose MJF at this point in time, there is almost no casual appeal to AEW wrestling. Like Edge went over there, proved he doesn't appeal to casual fans anymore. I think that, Bryan Danielson has completely given up on trying to be a casual friendly wrestler. I think MJF was the only thing that you had. And if it proves to be that MJF is injured, that's bad. If it proves to be this is some kind of storyline, then all right, cool. Like MJF keeps going on. WWE facing a lawsuit based on the merger with TKO. This type of shit you expect. I from what I could read, people were upset because the merger gave Vince McMahon the opportunity to sit on the board of directors in the new company. Great, but it's obvious that he has no real push or power to do anything. So I don't think, this is one of those things when you're just doing well, the people start coming from you. I wouldn't doubt if Tony Khan is somehow behind trying to make a push to a last minute effort to break this thing up, because I said it before, TKO was the perfect storm. Endeavor was the perfect storm. If there was ever any possibility of bringing CM Punk back, this I think was the only path that led us there, because of, I think CM Punk has a solid relationship with Endeavor. I think that gave Triple H the power. I think Triple H is an adult and he sees, I'm going to do what's best for wrestling. I don't think Vince McMahon probably loved it, but I know Triple H does what's best for wrestling. And I think when those two sides got in a room together and talked and said, this is a possibility, I think that Endeavor was like, you do whatever is best for your company. And I think that led us to CM Punk's side. This is the type of shit that happens. This will get handled behind the scenes. Money will shift and take, things will happen, but they're not going to break this up at this point. Is Ryback going crazy? Yes. Ryback just needs attention. And so, I've been, people in the Discord, Kara Danvers and We Too Deep have been feeding me tons of Ryback content, which is fucking hilarious. I didn't know. I try to stay away from watching a ton of other wrestlers, like wrestling commentary, and Ryback is now in that space because I don't want those ideas to become mine, because I think I lose my casual edge if I start repeating what other people are saying. But I might have to start watching Ryback just because of the shit show. They've showed me that he's having arguments with Elmo. They've showed apparently he was going to retire if CM Punk came back. Then CM Punk came back. Then he refused to retire. Now he's saying that when he returns to professional wrestling, he is going to get a bigger pop than CM Punk. What world does Ryback live in? Like what is going through Ryback? Maybe he just loves the attention. I had written down here, is R-Truth the greatest comedic wrestler of all time? I think he is. I absolutely think he is. I think that, WWE is just better when R-Truth is around. I wish they could figure out a way to blend that comedy with, a certain level of, like, I would like to see R-Truth as a tag team champion again. I think that would be fun. I think R-Truth needs to be in some storylines that make the War Game stuff, saying that he could be the fifth member with the Judgment Day and then asking how he did. That stuff is so good. I think they've got to find a way to incorporate more R-Truth into Monday Night Raw every week. Running out of time here, so I'm going to save this for next week. I want to draft my casual wrestling fantasy teams. I want to restart up the fantasy league here in the next couple of weeks, but I also just want, from a show perspective, I want you guys to know I'm going to pick one male, one female, and one tag team from each show, and then I'm going to pledge my diehard allegiance to those people so that you guys know that, like, when I do finally cry for professional wrestling, which I said I wouldn't do, it will be because one of these people lost a match. But that is all I have for you guys this week. Make sure to like and subscribe if you don't already. Please share this video wherever you think casual wrestling fans are. If you would like to contribute to the Casual Wrestling Creator Fund, the link is in the description. Man, $1, $2, it helps. Creating content is not free. It costs money to put on productions, and this show is completely self-funded. I'm funding this out of my own pocket, so anything helps you guys. But as always, I am the Notorious NerdyD, and this has been another episode of the NerdyD Wrestling Show.